Microevolution may lead to speciation, which is the process of forming a new species. In order to know when a new species is made, we need a proper definition. In the past, morphology alone was used to define a species by classifying organisms according to their internal and external structure and appearance. They were said to be different if they looked different enough, like lions and tigers. But then what could be said about ligers? Yes, they're real, and no, they're not magical. This is a picture of a female and a male liger. Most ligers and tigons are infertile, though they are the largest cats. An amended definition of a species needed to be made. The biological species concept is that a group of individual organisms that are capable of interbreeding to produce fertile offspring in nature is a species. Lions and tigers wouldn't breed in nature because they're so far apart. And most of the ligers are infertile, so by the biological species concept, lions and tigers are still different species. New species can be formed by isolation, often either geographical or reproductive. In geographical isolation, the population is physically separated. Over time, the allele frequencies in the populations will change because physical barriers like rivers, canyons, or oceans will keep them from rejoining their population. In reproductive isolation, a population experiences barriers that prevent them from reproducing to make fertile offspring. Now, there are two types of reproductive isolation: prezygotic isolation, where there are problems before fertilization, or postzygotic isolation, where there are problems after mating. Prezygotic isolation could occur if breeding seasons of the populations don't match up, where perhaps one group breeds in May and another in August. If they aren't breeding at the same time, no babies can be made. Postzygotic isolation is like the ligers. Even though the ligers are made, they're mostly infertile, and so can't continue breeding. There are also patterns in evolution. The three types of patterns are convergent, divergent, and coevolution. Convergent evolution is the process by which different species evolve similar traits, but they're not from a common ancestor. This is like bats and butterflies. They both fly, but their structures and mechanisms for flight are so entirely different that they must have had different ancestors. They converged in the sense that they can both fly, but their ancestry is not related. Divergent evolution is a process in which the descendants of a single ancestor diversify into species that each fit different parts of the environment. This is what most people think of when they think of evolution. It's sometimes also called adaptive radiation. At some point in history, there was a common ancestor, but the population underwent speciation to split into different species that occupy different niches. And finally, coevolution is when two or more species have evolved adaptations to each other's influence. The bucket orchid and wasp are dependent on each other for reproduction. The wasp fits into the bucket orchid and is the only pollinator that can do the job. The wasp also relies on the scent of the bucket orchid to attract its own mate. They evolved together and are now dependent on each other for the species to survive. Thanks for watching this episode of Teacher's Pet. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter @SciencePet.